it is so much more than a bike. It is so much more than a bike. Like I have processed so much. It was funny. Someone just posted in one of the groups, is it normal to cry on the bike? And I was like, oh, let's talk about this. Like, yeah. Because it's not just about physicality. It's about processing emotions and being like, I remember when I lost my dad a couple of years ago, 4 years ago, and I got on, I think it was a Jess King ride. And I just was sobbing. And probably for like my first 7-8 rides after he died, that's how, and it was amazing because it's, the bike is an outlet. It is. It helps you process through so much.
It's more than just your output, more than a bike. When you hear your shout out, you know it's all right. Put on your magic pants and let's go. We're cruising into the power zone. Clip in, set yourself free. Come on and take a ride with me. Know what you need to know and what's it all about. Everything you need, it's on the clip out.
Welcome to the Clip Out Podcast, episode 199. This is Crystal O'Keefe.
And this is Tom O'Keefe.
How's it going?
Okay, I reckon. And yourself?
It'll be a lot better in about 18 hours.
Okay. Yeah. We're getting ready to...
oh, wait. 20... I think it's like 36 hours.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, we're getting ready to go on a little romantic getaway. So next week we will be recording remotely. But it'll be interesting to see what this does with MetPro.
Yeah, I know, right? Okay, so they've been taking all of our carbs and they've been inching them up over the last couple of weeks so that as we go on our little getaway, right, and we consume more carbs, then we like gain less weight because our body is already used to consuming more.
Right.
So I think this will be fascinating because so we'll put this out there now. I usually gain 7 to 8 pounds in a week when we go on vacation.
Right.
So what do you usually gain?
Like 10 or 12.
Okay, so let's see. I'm curious to see.
And I mean, I'll drop a good chunk of that pretty quickly when we get back. Totally. It's because it's like, but
yeah. Then we usually lose about half of that in the first week.
Right.
So if we put all that out there and then we see what it looks like when we get back, like in theory, we should gain a little bit less.
Yeah.
And we should lose it just as fast. So like it should be. Like lose the same amount.
Right.
Like we usually lose about half the next week. We should still do that.
Well, and it sounds like when I get back, I don't know what their plans are for you, but when I get back, it sounds like they haven't cut my calories yet. They've only ever increased my calories.
Because they knew you had this trip coming.
Yeah, and so when I get back, it sounds like they're going to start cutting. So they were like ramp you up before the trip. You go, you do what you want on the trip. You come back, we cut. We'll see what happens. So
yeah, and it's going to be really hard for you because when they did the cut for me, they were like, get a veggie tray so you can eat as much as you want of like free food. So I don't know what you're going to do. Maybe you get to swim in spaghetti sauce.
I don't know. I would rather not eat anything than eat a veggie tray.
I know you would.
So I will take nothing over a veggie tray.
That'll be fun to see, but more fun to do nothing because I am real tired of working this amount of hours.
They've been working you like crazy.
I need a break.
Yeah.
I need a freaking break.
So I guess what do you have in store for people this week?
Well, lots of stuff for the Peloton. Of course, we've got John Mills joining us to talk about basically finance stuff going on for Peloton. And then we've got Dr. Jen, and then we have instructors all over the news, all over again. Yeah. And then of course our awesome interview. So we have a lot.
Awesome.
Just a ton to cover.
Well, before we get to all that, shameless plugs, don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us while you're there. Be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. Of course, you can also leave us a review if you would be so kind. It helps us a lot. It helps the people. It doesn't just help us, although it does help us.
It does.
But it also helps the people that come along after you that says, oh, this is worth checking out.
Yeah.
Right? So we have a new review.
Oh, yay.
This is from Clickstar13.
Clickstar. That's kind of fun to say.
Yeah.
Clickstar.
It is. And it says, best Peloton podcast. Aww. Absolutely love this podcast. I've been listening to this podcast since episode 1 while working from home for the past few months. This is hands down the best place to get any Peloton related news. Don't know what I'll do when I'm completely caught up.
Aww.
Tom and Crystal rock.
Thank you.
Currently listening to episodes from September 2018. Hopefully by the time I'm fully caught up, Tom will have finally gotten on the bike.
Ooh.
I've got some good news and some bad news for you. So, and their leaderboard name is Clickstar.
Clickstar.
So,
that's so fun.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Clickstar.
Yes.
And you can also find us on Facebook, facebook.com/theclipout. While you're there, like the page, join the group. Check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/theclipout. While you're there, you can subscribe to that as well. You're definitely going to want to check out YouTube. If not this week, for sure next week with the 200 episode. There's so many
surprises for you guys.
The most jam-packed episode we've ever created. There's tons of guest follow-ups. There's tons of fun little messages from other people that you're probably going to want to see. There are some very visual things. So even if you download the podcast, which we hope you do,
we definitely want you to do that.
You're definitely going to want to maybe double dip and stroll on over to youtube.com/theclipout to check that out, because there's a lot of fun stuff that you're probably going to want to actually see as well as hear.
Yes.
So, and you can also, if you're ever wondering about the articles that we talk about, you can get all of those stories emailed to you in one weekly digest by signing up for our newsletter at theclipout.com. So there's all of that. Let's dig in, shall we?
We shall.
Run, lift, and live with John Mills.
So joining us once again via the magic of ZoomTube is John Mills. Hey, John, how's it going?
AKA Grandpa Shark with the sweeper.
So,
Yes.
I'm a little upset about your Grandpa Shark shirt. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Peppa Pig is so nice to you. And
Shouldn't you have like a Peppa Papa? Like a
right.
Grandpapa Peppa?
I was gonna say Papa Pig, but I'm like, that's weird on like two levels.
Yeah, something ain't right.
No, that's not good.
Wait, it would be Grandpa Pig Peppa? No, Grandpa Peppa Pig? I can't say it.
Grand Peppa Pig?
Grand Peppa Pig. I'll go with that.
Okay. So you shared your workout room with your grandbaby, and you put Peppa Pig on the big screen. So to keep the child interested, it takes a lot.
Yes.
And then Peppa Pig shared that on their own social media channel. That's pretty cool.
So happy to see. I love this. Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, they actually hit me up like, I don't know, probably a month or two ago, 2 months ago. Yeah, and they were like, "Oh, we saw you posting these things about Peppa Pig and all, and we like a couple of them. So you mind if we use this? Do you have like the raw footage of it?" And because I like edit them down,
right?
And like they wanted the actual raw footage, not edited at all. And I don't normally keep a lot of stuff like this. Once I post it, I figured it's online. That's where I'll get it. I'll save space on my memory cards.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm so sorry, but I don't think I have the raw. I'll look, but I don't think I have it. And they went, all right, well, whatever, okay. So that I thought they were never going to use it because I couldn't get them the raw footage. So that was it. So it's been 2 months. I was like, hey, I'm just such a disappointment. I should save this footage. And then all of a sudden, surprisingly, they post that.
Well, I love it. It made my day.
That's kind of cool.
That's very cool.
It's very cool. And you had a busy week because you launched your own clubhouse.
Yeah.
We forgot to mention last week.
Yes.
So he has his own clubhouse as well. So people should check that out.
Yeah. And it's not called Run, Lift, and Live, though. What's it called? Remind us.
Yes, it is actually. The club is Run, Lift, and Live Club, but I do a weekly wellness check-in. So the weekly meetup is called a wellness check-in. And it's just really, it's not anything, it's intended to be as little stress as possible.
Yeah.
I kind of just wanted it to be, which it might not work well with like the Clubhouse format, but I didn't really want it to be kind of the lecture format. I was trying to figure out how to make it just like when we used to go to the studio, we get together, we talk about whatever happened the previous week in our wellness journey and anything that's coming up, and and we just have a conversation. So like, I don't know, it went really well this past weekend. But we'll
Awesome.
see.
That's
Go
awesome.
forward.
That's
And
great.
then in the middle of all that, we talked about the Black History like stories that you find, the kind of the lesser known ones, and share them with people. And you were invited to teach a class at a school, and so here you are doing that via Zoom, so you don't endanger yourself or children during a pandemic. That's always for the best.
Because of the COVID.
Well, yeah, I thought that was implied. Like I wasn't.
I was just being
He's not patient
silly.
zero or anything. Like I.
You know, it was funny. That was really cool. Yeah, I did lectures in 4 separate classes of 11th grade English honors students in a school in Rhode Island. And so I did like a 45-minute lecture and shared some stories. And basically it was about aligning my life experience in and you know, the African-American experience and my historical kind of genealogical research and aligning it with history and trying to align kind of what struggles we may have today with regards to bias and how that aligns to historically, you know. But it was really, they were reading a book called Stamp. And so some of the chapters in the book aligned to kind of my generation. So it was cool, you know, talking to the kids. They gave me a whole bunch of kind of really positive feedback after the lectures. So it was a lot of fun.
Well, that's
I'm
awesome.
glad. I'm glad you
Yeah.
did it. I know it was outside your comfort zone, so I'm very proud of you for stepping outside your comfort zone and doing it.
Thank you. Yes, I was stressed out. I was kind of stressed out. I was like, I might be too much for these kids. I'm gonna be all excited, and the teacher's gonna try to be calming me down. Like I wasn't really sure how this was gonna go. But it was really cool. But I was really nervous when we first got on, because I didn't know, are the kids in the room or are they at home? It's all Zoom.
Oh,
Sure.
yeah.
And I thought they were all at home, but the teacher, you can tell, is in a classroom. And they all everyone on the call had a mask on.
So they must
And then
have
I
been
started
there.
thinking, is it just like politically correct to even just wear a mask, even if you're alone? And you're,
Have we
Can
gone
I
that
be wearing
far?
a mask? Why do they have masks on?
Could be the-
Turns out they actually have computers in the classroom.
Okay.
Okay.
So each person had. I gotcha.
I was
It
like,
took me until day 2 to figure that out. Day 2, I almost wore a mask. They would have been
you
like,
didn't.
why are you wearing a mask?
be the first guest speaker to get detention.
Oh, well, good job, John.
Yes, well
It was
done.
good. Thank you.
So, digging into the world of Peloton, an interesting email was sent out this week.
Yeah.
That I actually noticed, of all people.
I didn't get it.
Yeah.
I never did get it.
And I just thought it was really fascinating and telling in that they had a promotional offer, get free gear with a bike or a Tread Plus.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was fascinating that, like, I guess delivery times must be getting better if they're starting to throw enticements out to people.
Agreed. And I think it's interesting. It's only on the original equipment, right? So not the new tread,
Right.
not the new bike.
Yeah.
Only on the original. So that's kind of fascinating all by itself.
I noticed that in when you posted it in your group. I hadn't paid any attention to like which ones it was. But yeah, it's all the original equipment.
Yeah.
So you're right. It makes you think that, you know, maybe they're doing better with the newer stuff and they're trying to get the older equipment out. I don't
and
know, but yeah, that was interesting.
I think that is it, because when you have checked on the delivery dates in the past, I've noticed that there started to be a little discrepancy between the new
Right.
and the old. So I mean, I think that that's interesting in and of itself, that the new stuff is going to go faster. So
Agreed.
You notice they cut those delivery timelines out. You can't go to the site anymore and check.
It's
It
all
doesn't give you any time frame anymore.
I think it's all your fault.
I do. I think it's.
I think I broke it. I don't know if I broke.
I think they heard us talking about it because they do listen.
They do.
Like, and I think they were like, yeah, like we don't need to make that quite
Maybe.
so public.
Maybe that doesn't need to
Yeah.
be a discussion, or
Yeah.
maybe it's like they've gotten it down under control enough that
Right.
they don't want to like call it out anymore.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
if it changes a little bit, they don't really want to talk about it. If it goes back out to 10 to 12 weeks, then we'll talk about it again. They'll put
Yeah.
it back up.
Right. or maybe we just broke it. No.
It's because you were hitting refresh all the time.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I didn't refresh. They're like, you know what? We got to get rid of this.
You were screwing up their metrics. So you found an article this week from Taiwan, right?
Yeah.
Did I get the country right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Money DJ is an outlet in Taiwan, and They posted about Rexon, which is one of Peloton's manufacturers, and how their revenue numbers for January and February of 2021 are triple digit, I assume percentage, greater in revenue than they were in January and February of 2020. And so I thought that was, I mean, it kind of lends to, things are still lots of demand for Peloton equipment. So I thought that was fascinating. And then in the article, they talk about knowing, I don't know how they know this, that Peloton still has 500,000 undelivered orders. So undelivered bikes.
How is that possible?
Right. Like, so I'm thinking, really, I don't know how they would know that, but how they know that there's 500,000 still bikes that are still undelivered as of March 11th when this post came out. But if it is true, my mind thought, well, if they're catching up from that 500,000 now, like what was it in October? Right?
Yeah.
That number is accurate, right? Like, wow, that's a lot. And also we know that they're not in the same type of constraint. I keep hearing left and right about people saying my delivery date was way out here. Now it's next week. So it's obvious that the times aren't the same anymore. Things are kind of getting back to a normal kind of cadence. So
the complaints are becoming a lot less. They're fewer and farther between. They really need to get to these people that have been hanging out there for like 8 months, though. It's like crazy.
Right. Yeah.
Like those people still don't have their equipment. And
that's so weird that they don't have a way to go in and like prioritize
because it's through XPO. At some point, they lose the ability to go in.
But man,
and
you
do
think
that.
at that point, just buy a second bike and cancel whichever one doesn't show up first.
Some people have done that.
Yeah.
Which didn't help with the whole demand.
Totally. It's like with concert tickets and counter holds I've talked about before about how it's, so absolutely. That's probably why they have 500,000 undelivered bikes.
Well, and
it seems like the process is working, that maybe that's the kind of like normal, pandemic normal backlog and manufacturing kind of hold. Maybe that's just, maybe that's not really that far behind for them. Like, I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it is because they have to build to get ready for the next demand. So maybe it's always like that many undelivered so that they can build for the next one. I guess that kind of makes sense. I don't know.
And then finally,
interesting.
It is.
Yahoo Finance sat down with Alan Boomer from Momentum Advisors managing partner. He's a managing partner at Momentum Advisors. And I just thought it was interesting because Alan is a proponent of Peloton. He's like, I thought it was interesting because I feel like this is maybe the first stock picker guy. They probably have a more professional sounding name than stock picker guy.
I think that's what they say. Stock picker guy.
SPG is what they call him in the biz.
That's the acronym.
Right. Yeah. It's I don't like to get all jargony on people, but that's how that works.
Right.
And but he's like, no, Peloton's here to stay, and I think that's fascinating because so many of these stock people have been just like they ride it while it's hot and then they dump it, and he's just like not just a COVID stock.
And his reasoning behind it makes perfect sense to me, right? He starts talking about how Peloton subscribers are so passionate about it, they actually end up being the one promoting and selling the equipment. And he's right. Peloton folks they tend to talk about their exercise equipment and the classes that they're taking, and they're out there on social media talking. I think that dynamic is just so unique to Peloton, and so he aligns that too. I mean, they're likely not going anywhere. Also, in the Wall Street Journal this week, John Foley was saying a similar thing. He's like, I know everybody thinks at-home stocks are going to start going down because of the vaccines, but he's like, 5 million treadmills are sold in the U.S. every year, before all of this.
Right.
So, and he always gets his little dig in. That's when it was like dopey equipment that wasn't connected. Right. He always gets that in. You want to notice that?
Good for him. I love that. I do because he's such a nice guy, and and like we've seen how nice John is, because how many times has he been taken advantage of? I mean, we've seen these lawsuits that he clearly was taken advantage of. So I like that he gets a little dig in on their dopey equipment.
John's a cool guy. Don't get it twisted. I walked up on him in New York one day, and he had on these fly Air Force Ones, multicolored, like he was about to step on stage with Run DMC. I was like, John, them shoes are fly. Them shoes right there are fly. He said he had gotten some advice to get them, but he's a cool guy.
But he took the advice.
Yeah.
He took the advice.
Right? Let's not lose sight of that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But yeah, like I said, I just find this fascinating that so many of the stock people are just like, oh, they're riding the wave, and this guy's like, no. And I think he's right. And I think, you're right when you say about the passion of the community. I mean,
right.
I whenever people talk about that, I'm like, go find the Echelon podcast.
Yeah.
Right? It's not out there.
Right.
Oh, their community. I see them on Instagram, and they attempt to kind of create that same type of energy, but you can tell it's coming from Echelon.
Right.
Like they're trying to reproduce it.
And that's what I've been saying. You can't recreate it.
You can't.
It's something that happened organically. You cannot force that kind of thing. You just can't.
Right.
In the world of politics, they refer to that as astroturfing.
Well,
because it's fake grassroots.
It's not working.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not working now.
No.
Not sure why it ain't working.
I think we know why.
We know why.
Well, I'll try to be nice.
Yeah,
I think I know why.
Don't start now. Well,
we've literally got you recorded plenty of other weeks not being nice, so don't even try.
Oh, yeah, people already know. They already know. Okay, yeah, you're right.
So I guess that's it for this week. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, remind everybody where they can find you.
They can find me on my Run, Lift, and Live page or group on Facebook. They can find me on Instagram, Run, Lift, and Live, or they can find me at runliftandlive.com.
And when is your next clubhouse?
Oh, this Saturday. Oh, I'm losing my headset. This Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Getting the Psychological Edge with Dr. Jen.
So joining us today, once again, via the magic of ZoomTube, is Dr. Jen Mann, licensed marriage, family, and child therapist and sports psychology consultant. You may know her from VH1's Couples Therapy with Dr. Jen or VH1's Family Therapy with Dr. Jen. She was also a 5-year national team member in rhythmic gymnastics and handled sports psychology for USA Gymnastics, and most importantly, the reason our paths cross, she loves Peloton, which is why she takes time out of her schedule to do this. Thank you and welcome.
It is my pleasure. Anytime I can talk Peloton or Peloton related things, I'm all in.
Well, we benefit greatly for that.
Yes, we do.
Today's question is from a member of the Clip Out group, Heidi Morgan Skelly, and she would like to know your advice for how to not get super depressed when you can't work out because you're recovering from an injury or illness.
This is such a great question. And I've worked with really top level athletes who have struggled with this as well. Wherever you are on the exercise continuum, this is most likely at some point, unfortunately, going to be an issue for you. There are a few things. One is I really recommend, if this is a Peloton person, doing the meditations every day, just at the very least, so you can get your check mark and feel like you haven't lost ground and that you're not starting over. Because I know that especially in kind of our Peloton community, we can get a little obsessive about our check marks. So I recommend doing the meditation. I also recommend asking your doctor, if you have a foot injury, can you do arms? If you have a shoulder injury, can you do walking? If you have a back injury, what can you do? So to be able to work on strengthening other parts of your body when one part has you knocked out, I think is always good. And sometimes we tend to be all or nothing. Oh, well, if I can't do that workout that I always do, if I can't do a 60-minute run or I can't do a full body workout, then I don't want to do anything. But injuries are actually a really good time to kind of balance us out. It can be a good time to focus on stretching or on some gentle yoga or other things that can help our body. Also, the other thing that I really recommend is mental training during that time. That to start doing visualizations, let's say you have a Peloton tread and you're into running, and to start to, during that time, visualize what it's going to be like when you get back, to start visualizing breaking time, start to visualize running becoming easier, that visualization is really, when I work with athletes, it's one of the number one tools that I work with doing sports psychology. And it is amazing. You know, they've done studies. There's a study in particular that I remember in grad school where they had people do free throws for basketball players. And they had one group that did visualization, one group that did free throw practice, one that did visualization and free throw, and one that did nothing. And what they found was the group that did that the best was the one that did obviously the physical and the visualization, but followed by the visualization group, which was then followed by the practice group, which really speaks to how important our minds are in building us up as athletes.
Wow.
That's fascinating.
That is fascinating. Holy cow.
Yeah.
I also want to just go back to the meditation so you get your check mark piece of advice. And I love that piece of advice because it's so Peloton specific, right? We talk about like how much you love Peloton, and that's kind of the perfect marriage of your professional expertise with just your personal passion. That like I don't know that you could get such a great piece of advice that's so hyper specific for Peloton users from any other professional.
That's very true.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I am obsessed, and I'm not going to lie. I need my check mark. But I don't want anyone to lose out on their check mark because they've had an injury, because it can shift your mindset, and it can really make you feel so discouraged and so negative that it's such a great way to be able to get that check mark and also be doing something that's really good for you. And I think that sometimes people underestimate the value of these meditations, especially if you're injured. And I know that like Ross Rayburn has healing meditation. I'm sure all of the instructors do that. That's a good time to do a healing meditation when you are injured.
Oh, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
And I have recently been doing more meditations, and I would say that I 100% agree with that, because if nothing else, it really quiets your mind. And when you feel frustrated about something like not being able to work out, there's just this like space that you make in your mind that like lets everything else be calmer the rest of the day. And so that can be very important.
And I think for a lot of people, especially right now where we're in a pandemic, exercise binds anxiety, and that if you're injured and you can't work out, especially if it's at all, which I hope is not the case, because usually if you injure one part of you, you can use another part of you. But we need something to replace the thing that exercise served to help us with. And a lot of the time meditation can be that sort of stand-in.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, remind everybody where they can find you.
You can find me on social media at Dr. Jen Mann, 2 N's on Jen, 2 N's on Mann. I also have an InStyle magazine column that comes out every week, Hump Day with Dr. Jen, but you can even find that on my social media.
Peloton in the news.
So Elle Magazine this week took us inside the Peloverse.
I love this. I'm surprised it took this long to have like this kind of coverage of all of the different pieces of Peloton.
Of the fandom of Peloton. And we like this article not just because we're in it.
No.
They didn't talk to us or anything.
No.
But we had no idea this was coming, and just all of a sudden they linked to us and talked about all the different ways you could engage with Peloton that aren't from Peloton, that whether it's a Facebook group or an unofficial podcast, and then they linked to us. And so that was exciting.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And I really, there's a lot of groups kind of reached out whenever I posted this, and they were like, oh, we weren't one of the groups, but I mean, with 300, and they only said 300. We know there's more than 300.
Absolutely.
But there's so many, you can't get everybody. But I do, I think that it's really cool how they covered a little bit of everything from the perspective of like, there's like all these different things, like you said, that you can do. So it was I was honored to be part of it. And
I also kind of liked the tone of the article, which was that it sounds like they went in kind of like almost gonna make fun of it because it's like, oh, it's so silly, and then so the author joined all these groups, and then the longer she was in the group, she was like,
oh, this is pretty great.
Oh, these people are pretty nice and normal, and they're not like crazed cult members. Like they have a shared love of two things that unite them: Peloton and
whatever,
their moms, or Peloton and they're in the clergy, or
yes,
what have you.
Exactly.
And so it was kind of like the community itself kind of like made her do a 180 and be like, okay, this isn't as cringe inducing as I thought it was going to be.
That's what the Peloton community does.
It does.
That's the power of the Peloton community.
And then the LA Times had an article about all the cycle studios reopening out that way.
Mm-hmm.
And can they pry people away from their Peloton bikes?
No.
Short answer, no.
No, they cannot.
Next article.
Pretty much.
Yeah, like there's
always going to be people that are still going to go. I don't mean that like those places are going to shut down, but people who really enjoy their bike are not going to go back to the gym.
They're not going to sell it or throw it away.
No.
It's right there in their house, and if they're digging it, like, why go back?
And they already have to pay for that too. So
right.
Yeah. And they spelled Peloton wrong.
And the URL.
In the URL.
Yeah. They spelled it Peleton.
See that a lot on the OPP, followed by 100 comments telling them how dumb they are.
Totally. And then on the heels of that, the Wall Street Journal kind of has a similar article about how gyms are reopening, but now everything's different.
Yeah. What was your take on this one?
Well, I don't have a subscription to the Wall Street Journal.
Oh.
So my take on it was, I don't want to subscribe to the Wall Street Journal.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Next.
We split up the subscription. So you have the Journal subscription. I have the Washington Post subscription.
Yes. And I should have read it. But guys, it's been real busy.
She's been very busy.
I'm sorry. I really feel guilty. Like I really do. Like no one else cares, but I feel guilty.
And then a quick hit from Yahoo Finance talking about how Peloton COO Tom Cortese,
who we've also interviewed,
past guest, he was on one of our episodes.
Homecoming episode.
The homecoming episode, sat down with us for 5 or 10 minutes and told us how much we irritate him when we leak news before they're ready.
But we love you, Tom.
Here's something new for him to be irritated by about. Hello, Tom. That he sold off some of his Peloton stock for a tidy little sum.
I mean, $4.4 million. That's amazing. Congrats to him.
Absolutely. Like that's,
I love it.
Yeah, no, it's great to see these people that kind of got in on the ground floor, rolled the dice, and man, did it pay off big. And my guess is that's not anywhere close to the bulk of his stock as early as he got in. So it's not like he's panicking. I think he's just going to be like, he's probably going to buy a house and he's like, why take out a mortgage?
Right. Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And then Vox had an article about how the Peloton delivery driver is now the most popular person in the pandemic.
Sales are up 232%. Oh, that's funny.
That's crazy.
So I wonder how much a Peloton delivery driver gets compared to other companies that they deliver. You know what I mean? Like if you took like an Echelon bike, for example.
Right.
Or, a Nordic Track bike and they have to be delivered and set up.
Right.
Well, I guess Echelon doesn't get delivered. You buy it at Costco. So never mind. But
Fair
Nordic
enough.
Track.
Okay.
Okay. So Nordic Track, if you just had them side by side, do they get the exact same amount of tip, or because you have to wait so long and you're so freaking excited they're at your house, do you tip the Peloton delivery driver more?
Or do they get tipped worse because they're mad and they're taking it out on that poor schlub?
I don't know. That's
or
a great
schlubette.
question. Anybody that's ever delivered to us, now we've had XPO drivers, except for one, maybe two. So we've had like 5 Peloton deliveries because we had the pink Peloton bike, and then I got my Bike Plus, and then I had my first bike, and then the tonal and the tread. And every single one of those deliveries has been perfect.
Yeah.
I have never had an issue. They've all been wonderful delivery people, and I have tipped well because I'm always so happy with how they handle it. So no bets?
I don't know.
Okay.
How would we ever find out?
I don't know.
Okay, I'll bet since there's no way I can ever lose the bet.
Okay.
There's no way I can ever win it, but there's no way I can ever lose it.
So what's your bet?
$1 million.
That it's good or bad?
Yes.
Okay.
And then GQ UK had a review of the new tread, and they dug it.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's really nice.
Yeah.
It's funny. I see two kinds of people, when I see two kinds of posts about the new tread. I tried both of them side by side, and the Tread Plus kicks the shit out of the regular tread.
Right.
Which I think is true. But also true is I have a smaller space, so I can't have the Tread Plus, and
Right.
the Tread is also really, really nice. So I think Peloton's going to do amazing with this new Tread. I really do. I think it's going to be great for people who have smaller spaces, or they live in apartments where they can't have a really loud machine and a heavy machine.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be good.
And I could see it be something that somebody kind of stair steps, right? That like when you're younger, you buy the Tread, and then as you get older and you need something that's a little bit easier on your knees, and you presumably as you age, maybe making a little bit more money, hopefully, and have a little more comfort in your life financially, you can upgrade to the Tread Plus, and then also you'll know by then too, like, okay, I use this thing all the time,
Right, and you can justify.
I feel more comfortable buying the next level because now I know I'll use it. So I could definitely see people buying a Tread, having it for 4 or 5 years, and then upgrading to a Tread Plus when they're at a different point in their life, or when they have their forever home, or what have you.
Absolutely. Both of them are beautiful machines. So, Tom.
Yes.
How's your new journey going with Tonal? Because let me tell you, you've sold a lot of Tonals. I don't know why, but people were like, "Oh, if Tom's using it, I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger."
You're too young to remember, but it's like that old commercial, like for what was it, Life cereal? Mikey, he doesn't like anything. I tried it. I liked it.
But you like a Tonal.
Well,
I mean, I know you don't.
I don't like working out, but it's a great machine, and for me the big selling point of the Tonal is just that it's I don't have to think about it, right? Like I can just go up to the Tonal, I pick my class, and then if you do a program, that's like 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And so I don't have to think about it for a month.
But I think that's what speaks to people, because I think there's a lot of people that are intimidated by weights and they've never done weights. And so really, I joke, but seriously, I think that is why people have like pulled the trigger, because they're like, well, if Tom's somebody who hates,
if it's so simple, Tom can do it.
Exactly.
Who has no experience going to a gym,
don't like working out. And you've had a great experience with the machine.
I have. Even though I still I hate that I have to do it, it does what it's supposed to do well. It doesn't feel janky. It's really, they put that thing into the wall solid into the studs. Like it doesn't feel like it's going to pull off the wall or anything like that. And I really like the fact that it stair steps you on those weights to where it's like, I would never know when to go up on a weight or down. Unless we were kidding.
Right.
And it just does it, and it doesn't even really make all that big of a deal about it. It just kind of quietly does it in the background. Now you're lifting 1 more pound, and then just slowly over time you lift more weight.
Well, if anybody out there has been looking into the Tonal, now is the time to buy. You can visit www.tonal.com for $100 off the smart accessories when you use promo code TheClipout at checkout. You can try Tonal for 30 days risk-free. That's www.tonal.com, promo code TheClipout. Tonal, be your strongest.
Instructors in the news.
Shape Magazine had their weekly Peloton article. It's mandated by law. And this one was about the various instructors and their makeup regimen.
This is a big deal, because this wasn't like a paragraph.
Right.
This was like a full-on spread, and each instructor that was featured, so there were 4 of them. We've got Allie, Kendall.
It's interesting. The headline says 5, but the picture shows
Olivia.
4.
It's because it's Olivia over there. They have like a little tiny one of Olivia.
Well,
I don't know
weird.
why they did that.
Who'd she piss off?
Well, she's got still a full page spread. So
okay.
Olivia, Tunde, Kendall, Allie, and Aditi, all of them were featured. And so they go through their makeup routine and their what their signature makeup piece is. So for Olivia, it's her lipstick, and there's her brows for Allie, and Tunde's everything. Her lipstick especially. And then
and her background is makeup.
I know.
So
that's what I mean, her everything.
Yeah.
She's amazing. And Aditi, she's got the eyeliner game down.
Gotcha.
It's down. She does the cat eye, the best cat eye ever. And then Kendall, I can't remember. What did they say about Kendall's? What was Kendall's? Oh, all of her skincare. She does have great skin. She's like perfect skin. So very cool that all of these ladies were all featured in Shape Magazine this week. Congrats to all of them. I know they were all really excited and posting about when they were posting about it. Every one of them.
Oh,
was,
really?
Like, super excited.
That's
yeah.
funny.
Like, I mean, because it's like they're in a freaking magazine.
Yeah.
Like they're not like, again, with this like level of how the Peloton has just risen to this new stardom. Incredible.
And if that's not enough, Cody was featured in the New York Times.
Yeah, this article, This Is Your Brain on Peloton, was basically just an ode to Cody.
A love letter to Cody Rigsby.
It really was. It was all about how much they appreciate his sense of humor, his dance, his ways of dancing, and just how he loves Britney. In fact, the person who wrote the article, I believe she has a hashtag that is free Britney. That's her hashtag.
Gotcha.
And she doesn't have a bike, so she's like a on-demand ride, or she doesn't have a bike, so she's like on the leaderboard in the shadow realm.
Oh,
if you
okay.
will. Like, the instructors
Shadow
can see her, but they can't see her hashtags. And
Right.
the rest of us can't see her hashtags. So very cool, though. They absolutely loved Cody. I like seeing these features, and I like that it was all about one instructor. It wasn't just Peloton. It was across the board.
Totally.
Peloton Closet. Step into the Peloton Closet with Tori.
So joining us today from Peloton Closet, it's Tori. Hello, Tori.
Hi, Tom. Hi, Crystal.
Hi. How's it going?
It's going great. We are recording and it's light, which I love because it's daylight savings time. And that means it's time to do one of my favorite things, which is spring cleaning.
All right. So are you gonna get us all prepared to organize all of our Peloton clothes?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Think if she enjoys spring cleaning so much, we should invite her over.
So we should just like fly her from California. We've got some work for you to do.
It might be
Tori.
worth it. We have miles. We have miles just sitting there.
I've got some friends to visit in St. Louis, so I'm up for it. But okay, well, let's get started. I have 3 ways that I like to go through my athletic wardrobe to organize. I love a good purge, and then sort of get ready, to swap out the leggings for the bike shorts or the dark stuff for the brighter colors for spring. So let's go through the 3 steps that I like to take. And I brought some visual aids today to show you my ways.
Which those visual aids would be good if they haven't sampled our YouTube channel yet.
Yeah.
To if you're listening to this, when you get a chance later, go to youtube.com/theclipout and watch this episode.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I will also be posting some of the videos and photos that I mentioned on my website, which is pelotoncloset.com.
Awesome.
So let's begin. The first step in the whole spring cleaning situation for me is to straighten up all the drawers where I store my athletic clothes. And the truth is that my whole brand is misnamed because I don't actually have a Peloton closet. I have Peloton drawers. I didn't really think about that when I was naming myself. So, oops.
Peloton drawers sounds a little weird.
It does. Yeah.
It's not as good. So anyway, I do store my stuff in drawers. And a number of years ago, I read this book called The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. And there was also a Netflix series by the same woman. Her name's Marie Kondo.
Yes.
And maybe you've seen that meme where she's going like, I love mess.
I've watched the whole show. I love Marie Kondo. She's great.
She's, she can be a little bit extreme for some people, but as far as I'm concerned, her clothing storage tips are life-changing, like not a misnomer, truly life-changing. So before I read that book, I used to stack all my leggings and, all my t-shirts on top of one another. And then if I couldn't see the thing on the bottom, it just never got worn.
Right.
So I completely changed to the Marie Kondo method. And now I basically stack all my things, envision a bookshelf. So essentially what I do is I'm actually going to demonstrate with a nice hot pink pair of leggings. So it's nice and bright. I take my leggings, and instead of just folding them like in half and then putting another pair on top, what I do is fold them in thirds. And essentially you can see they'll stand up on their own on the bottom of your drawer. And so when you look at your drawer, now you'll have all of your leggings or all of your t-shirts. You can do it with the tank. You can do it with shorts. And there you go. Thank you. Everything stands up. It looks like a nice little bookshelf. And that way you can see all of your items. And for me, when I see the things that I own, then I'm able to actually wear them. And if I don't wear them, it's probably not just because they're buried in the back of the drawer, but there's probably like a reason. Maybe they don't fit me. Maybe I'm waiting to lose, the last 5 pounds, whatever. So maybe they're scratchy. Like there's probably a reason, and maybe it's time to get rid of them.
Yeah. That's a great way too to kind of pick out what needs to go. Like if you have it very visual like this, then it's easy to see what you're not choosing, and that can then be taken to the next step, I'm sure.
Yes.
So Crystal, sometimes leggings might need to go. Is this more of a hypothetical situation, or?
That's why we say life-changing, Tom.
This is kind of Tori's thing. Don't steal her thunder.
So just one more thing about storage. I also have, this is like a box that I use for a sports bra. So same thing, you stack them up this way. And what's nice about this is in your drawer, maybe you put it this way and then you can flip it around. Same concept. Now the things that were toward the back are in the front. And again, if you're not wearing them, exactly, there's the storage box. So that white item in the front, when I flip it around, if it doesn't get worn, like I'm going to know. Like it's just because I'm choosing not to wear it. It's not because I forgot about it.
I need a better storage for sports bras. So this is inspiring.
Okay, these boxes you can get at Target, you can get at the Container Store, or you can use a shoebox. So it does not have to be fancy or expensive.
Great. Okay. Now she's going to buy more shoes so she can store all the leggings.
Actually makes it more expensive then.
My God.
All right, Tom.
Are you though? Are you?
So, okay, step 2, assess. So, you see your things and now you're like, you know what? I never wear that blue sports bra. Those green leggings have gotten no love from me for whatever reason. And maybe it's time to let them go via a spring cleaning. Now, sometimes we're not ready emotionally to take that step. And that's where I like to talk about the clothing purgatory. I will pull something out of a drawer and put it in a pile, stick it in a bag, like in the actual Peloton closet. I do have a closet.
It's a whole closet.
And it's there. But I'll stick it in there for maybe a week or 2 and decide, have I thought about this thing? Have I cared about it? Do I miss it? If not, bye. Time to go. So that's kind of how I go through my process. And then it's really about what do I do with this stuff? And, I think you have a few options. First of all, giving it away to a nonprofit. You want to check and make sure that they actually want your stuff. I just went online to a nonprofit organization near me, and they were specifically asking for sports bras and like warm socks and athletic socks. So I felt really good about being able to give those specific items to that organization, knowing they had a very real need for those things.
Yeah,
totally.
So another thing that a lot of people do, especially with those Peloton branded items, is selling them. There's a huge market. And we're going to talk about another time buying resale, but so more to come on that. But in the meantime, Facebook Marketplace, Poshmark, eBay, if you have some item, especially of Peloton branded clothing, you are going to make someone else very happy when you sell that, because they missed out on it and they've been searching for it maybe for a long time.
Crystal, you could make 2 someone's happy if you sold it. I had to be careful or she's going to start talking about comic books.
Yeah, Tom,
piling up.
Tom, I don't think you've opened the last 8 shipments of comic books you've gotten.
I've been busy.
So have I.
And then finally, like if taking something to, a local nonprofit or selling it online is too hard, you might want to just organize a swap, trade with friends. I when I left my last job, people were really sad. And I don't think it's because I was such a great employee, but probably because I was the person who always showed up with a big bag of leggings and tank tops and shorts and was like, hey guys, free for all, come grab some stuff.
That's awesome.
All those people were crying when I moved to my new place of employment. So you can make yourself really popular with friends and neighbors or colleagues if you want to bring things in to share. So
good tips. Good tips.
They'd be way more popular than cake in the break room.
Well, I mean, both are
it's
pretty
the
good.
Antidote to cake.
Exactly.
New leggings and workout clothes.
That's right.
There
That's
you go.
right.
Well, thank you very much for all that. Until next time, where can people find you?
I am all over the internet under the name Peloton Closet. So Instagram is my favorite channel, and that's Peloton Closet. I'm on Facebook, not quite as much, but Peloton Closet. I have my website, which is Peloton Closet. I am on Reddit, Peloton Closet, and I am at the bottom of the leaderboard, Peloton Closet.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tori.
You know, while we're talking clothing, found an article from promomarketing.com, which I thought was very interesting. And it says Peloton reportedly sold 600,000 pieces of branded apparel last quarter.
Good God.
Quarter.
I did not buy that many.
No, you're at best, you're 300,000 of them. So...
Wow, that is a phenomenal figure.
Yeah. And now you see why things like Adidas are jumping in, right?
Yeah. So, and this whole article was about the Adidas collaboration, which we covered last week, but is interesting to note that this article was also like, yeah, Peloton didn't do a release at all still. Like I really thought it would just happen over the next couple of days, and then it never did. But
yeah,
supposedly there's one coming. So interesting.
Yeah, totally. But like, it shows you why somebody like Adidas wants to partner up with Peloton when they're moving 600,000 pieces in a quarter. That's crazy town.
Yeah, and keep in mind that's without meeting the demand, right? Like it's still selling out.
Right.
It's not like anybody their thirst was quenched. There's more.
An excellent point.
Peloton celebrity sightings.
Bloomberg had an article, Peloton basks in celebrity love while at the bottom of the NASDAQ 100.
What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, they're talking about like kind of the disconnect in terms of like how popular it is with celebrities. And it talks about like Lizzo and Miley Cyrus and Ellen DeGeneres all being huge proponents of it. And that, but that it's stock, I guess, they think should be bigger, or why isn't it doing better? And talks about how Nautilus actually outperforms it in terms of like percentages. It's
okay, but Nautilus started from a smaller point.
Well, then that's what they're talking about. That its growth has outpaced it, even though Peloton's stock price is significantly higher, right?
Yeah.
So, but
Nautilus started at a smaller point,
right?
So,
yeah, totally. But I mean, if you're a stock guy, you'd rather throw $200,000 at the other one and get that bigger growth and cash right back out, right?
And
that's
if you're only looking at numbers,
right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes,
but that's what people just don't get about Peloton. So this person clearly doesn't get it.
Well, I mean, and it is Bloomberg, so they're there to talk about stock stuff. So, I mean, I get that, but
Bloomberg's usually really positive Peloton. So.
Yeah, but I think they're, like I said, they're just overall talking about just the little bit of the disconnect between, and I do think that, as we talked previously in the episode, the passion in the fan base and the passion among the celebrities is what's going to really help drive it long term. Is that it creates a brand loyalty that the other ones just can't replicate.
Absolutely.
Peloton artist collaboration.
We have a new artist collaboration with Lauryn Hill.
I'm really looking forward to this. I love Lauryn Hill, and I've listened to her music for a long, long time, so I'm really excited about this one.
Are you?
Yeah, I am.
It's not really my thing. Not that I was gonna.
You weren't gonna ride?
Wasn't gonna hop on the bike anyway, but still, it's like we talk about all the time. It's great that they have so many different artist to spotlight.
It is.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I love seeing the breadth, different artists.
Absolutely.
Peloton birthdays.
So not actually a birthday, but Jess King is celebrating her 7th anniversary with Peloton.
7 years. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
2014. Congrats to Jess King.
Absolutely. And she has a special celebratory ride that you can take with her.
It's going to be Saturday, March 20th at noon Eastern and 30 minutes long. So it's perfect time to enjoy right in the middle of the day.
Checking in with the Peloton community.
So joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube is Jennifer Storm. Hey, Jennifer, how's it going?
Good. I'm super excited about this. I feel like I've seen you on the leaderboard like forever.
I've had a bike for a while. It's 2015. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've had yours longer than I have. So that's really cool. So what was your fitness like before Peloton? Remember back that far?
No, there is no life before Peloton. It's non-existent. So I'm, by pure background, not an athlete, have never been super into athleticism at all, but I started needing something to kind of process trauma, my own trauma. And then the work that I was doing at the time was I was actually I'm in victim services, and I was doing homicide response, which is incredibly intensive and super traumatic. And I was finding myself coming home with like all these experiences stuck to me. And then, it was bringing up my own shit. And so I was trying to figure out like, how do I process this? And therapy wasn't really helping. And all the normal things that I would normally do just weren't really helping to get it out. So I started to run. And I found running to be really helpful. And then I turned 40 and my knees, I started getting a little older and my knees weren't really liking me too much. And so I started to dip into spin classes here and there. Not dare I say it, I went to Gold's Gym. That was my first spin class experience. I know. And then I fell in love with spin. I fell in love with I loved the fact that it was low impact, but really high intensity. So I could still get that brain clear that I got from running without killing my knees. And so I really got into spin. And so I was doing I travel a lot. So I was doing a lot of different boutiques. I won't name any of those people. And I kept seeing this ad pop up all of a sudden, it's probably in 2014. I would get this ad on my Facebook and I was getting inundated. I feel like Peloton targeted me and stalked me successfully. Yeah. So I think that's their strategy. And I kept saying to my wife, man, this would be, what if I had it right here in my living room? What a great concept. And I had never heard about, there was no on-demand exercise at that point. There really wasn't this thing. And so finally I was like, all right, I'm going to at least go look at the bike, which is always, if my wife knows me, she's like, that means we're coming home with a bike, right? I'm like, I'm going to look at the bike. And so at that point, I'm in Pennsylvania. We had to travel to Virginia because that was the closest Peloton store. We didn't even have one in Philly yet.
That's just that's so funny because in the world of Peloton, that's 100 years ago.
I'm an OG Peloton kid.
I know,
I love
it's so cool.
I love it. Yeah, so we drove 2.5 hours to Tyson's Corner, which is this huge mall in Virginia. And I got on the bike. And the first thing I think I realized was how well made it was. You get on that bike and it just felt fierce. I felt very secure on it. So I started probably 4 or 5 pedals through. I just looked at my wife. I'm like, I'm going to need you to get the wallet because we're going to be getting this. And again, I did a demo and I did a quick little 5-minute ride and I was hooked. And yeah, I guess the rest is history, as they say. I got it in November of 2015.
So how long was that drive between your home?
2.5 hours.
I love it. That's dedication. You knew deep inside it was going to be.
I did. I just felt I kept saying to myself, I need to feel it. I need to get on the bike and know that it feels right. I knew I was going to get it.
Yeah. That's why when Chris was like, let's just go look at the puppies.
Thank you. We did that in quarantine. We now have a puppy and a kitten. Don't ever just go look at something unless you're going to buy it.
Yeah.
You're going to buy it. Yeah.
The puppies are so cute.
Of course, I guess it works to my advantage because we met through online dating. So at some point she pulled out her phone and was like, well, let me just look at single guys.
Exactly. And then she got one.
Yeah.
So that's how that works. That's true.
Okay. So you bought yours in that day. It comes home. So like, where are we? This is still 2015.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And to show you how bad delivery delays are, she got her bike last week.
Exactly. It just got here. No, I know. I feel so bad for people that are like dying for their bikes right now, but
I know it's sad. And I can understand the frustration. And it's so crazy how much the community has grown. It's just insane.
Well, this is how much I used to actually be a member of the official Peloton page when you could actually post on there and engage and have community and friendships. It got so big that it was like, now I kind of branched off to like subgroups, and I spend more of my time on subgroups just because it's massive. It's huge.
Yeah,
it is. You're right. What has the community been like for you? I mean, since you've been around that long, I know that you had to have met some cool people. So tell us about that.
Yeah, I think it's one of the keys to success, right? I've had home equipment. It has turned into clothing racks, just like people say. I think I saw somebody post on a thing today, like, is this going to become a clothing rack? And I'm like, no, it will not. But the community is the biggest piece, for me at least. So when I got the bike, I then went on Facebook and I found the community. I started posting there, and there was just so much motivation and fun, and there was accountability. And that's really big for me. Like, if I commit to something and someone else knows I'm supposed to do something, it's that age old saying, like, you're going to do it. Accountability works. The buddy system works. So I started kind of just posting in there and introducing myself, and it got me on the bike. Because if I was laying on my couch, like having a fat day, and I'm just like, la, la, I'd see all these posts. I'm like, oh, look at that ride. Maybe I'll go do that ride. So-and-so just did Robbins, whatever. And it would get me off the couch onto the bike.
Yeah.
And nothing's ever done that before. Nothing's ever gotten me off the couch to the gym other than like my own, will. So
yeah, it's like you're like in a club and the admission is riding the bike. And if you start to feel bad, because I've seen Crystal do this, you start to feel bad if you're talking to these people about Peloton, but you haven't gotten on the bike for a while, and you're like, I got
to get back on.
I got to earn my stripes.
Also,
you got to show up.
Exactly. Yeah. And people make it look so fun. Like, oh, they had such a great time on such and such ride. And you're like, oh, really? Like, maybe that's the one I need. And then next thing you know, 3 rides later, you're like, oh, I guess all I needed was a good ride.
That was back like when it's funny. If you go, you can't go back and take any of those old rides anymore, it's just very sad to me. But like, they were so funny too. Like, even the instructors like didn't take themselves as seriously. The hair and the makeup was different. Like even like their form was different. Like, there's definitely been some, I won't name any instructors, some rides I've been on where I'm like, that's from another place. Like, now it's like a Peloton. No, like, no, you don't put your arms on the handlebars and things that like were traditional in other spaces. But it was the camaraderie though, like the turkey burn. That's like Jess and Robin used to do the bad girl rides, right, like where they would get together. When Nicole was on, like I adored Nicole and Stephen Little, and that's what got me into like heart rate and power zone. And so then I started to branch off into like the other communities, like, and then got really even more committed.
So which other communities have you kind of trickled down to?
So for a while, and I don't even remember the name, there was a really snarky subgroup of Peloton. And it was funny at first. And then I forget the name of it. I stopped going to it because it started to become a little mean girlish. And then I was like, oh, I'm not. It started just to be about making fun of other people. I'm like, that's not okay. But there was like, I forget the name of it, but it's probably good that I don't. I predominantly spend my time on the JSS page because I love Jen Sherman. That's my girl. And the LGBTQ ally page is my jam. So those two spaces. Sometimes Robins, there's a Robins page. I don't go to that one as much, but it's probably because I am a dedicated Jen Sherman rider, like to the core.
Yeah, that's where I think I usually see you on the leaderboard. I feel like we've been high-fiving. Seeing each other. We can only high far back as.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's so cool to actually put a face with the name. I've never known what you look like this whole time, so that's pretty cool.
Apparently, I started a bit of a stir on the JSS page because I posted a photo and I have it. I got all the Grateful Dead stuff because I love the Dead too. And I had the hat on when it first came. I was so excited. I put it on and I took a picture of myself and I posted it. And everyone thought I was Jen Sherman. Like, some people were like upset. They were like, "Oh my God, we thought she was allowed back." Because remember back in the day when like the instructors were allowed in the subgroup?
Yeah.
They were a big part of that, and it was so funny. There must have been like 200 comments of people thinking I was Jen Sherman. So I took that as like I was like, okay, I'm like done.
You might have found a new career as a Jen Sherman impersonator.
Maybe I could be like a double. If she ever gets sick, I could go into the studio and try to sub in for her.
That's an awesome idea.
It was funny. It was very comical. Yeah.
Oh, there is definitely a resemblance, and your hair is just as on point as hers is, which is saying something. I'm pretty jealous. You guys have that nice thick hair.
It's done. So yeah.
Well, from here it just looks like you did that on purpose. Like it's got the highlights and the low lights going on.
You're doing better than me.
Your hair looks amazing, Tommy.
Yeah, I got it over here somewhere.
So you're an author as well.
I am. So I write about my own experiences. That's kind of how I walked into being an author. I was victimized as a very young child. I was raped, and that experience kind of took me down this pretty tumultuous, dark path of addiction. And I was really lucky that I survived at a young age. I survived a pretty brutal suicide attempt after living, 10 years in some real heavy drug and alcohol addiction. And I got sober young. And so, when I was trying to figure out what does this new life look like? I'm 22 years old, right? I should just be going into bars. However, I had been in them for like 6 years. And so I went to college, and then I came out of the closet. I discovered I was gay. That was like kind of one of those underpinning secrets of beneath my addiction. And as I started to like unravel all those secrets, I started to really free myself. But I wasn't really trusting a lot of people in the beginning. So I wrote a lot. And writing has always been a real source of solace for me. It's how I process things. And so I just kept writing and writing and writing and writing. And it was, around 2006, 2007, when like the memoir genre started getting really big. And so I was also reading. I love to read. And I couldn't find a book that really spoke to my story. It didn't talk about what it's like to be queer in recovery and in sobriety. It didn't talk about sexual violence, certainly at all. And so I thought, well, I've written a lot. Maybe I'll try to see if I could get this published. And lo and behold, Hazelden Publishing, took my book. And so Blackout Girl came out originally in 2008.
Wow.
And it's just gone through a repackaging and reprinting. So it just came back out in September. So it's funny. So I published my first book in 2008, which does anybody remember what happened in 2008?
Subprime bubble burst. And
it was a great time to publish a book.
Yeah.
So I was so excited when the publisher's like, we're going to put the book back out. And I was like, yes, it's going to breathe new life into it. And then the pandemic hit. And I'm like, I have like the worst book karma on the planet. Like,
so the next time you're planning to publish a book, could you let my financial advisor know so we could plan accordingly?
Yeah, I mean, books kind of got a glow up in the pandemic, but of course mine came after the glow up. Like the glow up was like early in like March and April, and my book came out in September. I'm like, I'm just screwed. But the people that need to get to it and that need to read it, get to it. And that's what matters.
That's a great title.
That is a great title. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, okay. So, I want to go back to the group that you talked about earlier, the LGBTQ. Is it just called that, or does it have a different name? Because I'm sure people are going to ask about that, and I want to make sure we get the full name.
All right. It is Peloton, because I'm literally on there every day. LGBTQ and Ally Group.
Okay. Thank you.
Awesome logo. Like they have an awesome Peloton logo too. I don't want to mix up the pages. I know like the Jen Sherman page just hit like 10,000, which is amazing.
It's crazy.
I feel like the LGBTQ one's around like 6,000 maybe.
Okay.
It's just a great group, fun group. Accountability. Again, it's about accountability. And I think one of the things that I love, so my relationship with Peloton in pandemic has completely drastically changed.
Oh, really?
I used to ride consistently. And I was like a big member of the 6 a.m. live rides. I would get up at 6 a.m. and I'd ride 2 to 3 times a week.
I miss that.
Me too. Remember when Robin's Tabatas on Tuesday? And then I would do like Matt Wilpers would have a power zone. And, I loved my boy, Stephen Little. So I was like, but I would still only ride like, and then I would do Jen Sherman on Sunday because she owned Sundays, right? Like that was her day. But I wasn't a daily rider. And, riding for me has always been about my mind and spirit anyway, and has never really done much for my body. I'll be very honest. And then the pandemic kind of hit and I thought, this is a respiratory illness. And I've got the cure for that. Like I've got a respiratory generator in my home. So, and coupled with just sheer boredom, I started getting on every day. And so I have been on that bike since March. I will say almost every day, because then there's like a big caveat. And I started riding every day. And then I started getting even more engaged in communities. Then I started to actually notice benefits in my body that just happened to be these like side effects that are great. Like I lost 20 pounds and I'm
wow. That's exciting.
That yeah. I mean, most people gained in quarantine. I somehow lost. I'll take it. And then I got diagnosed with uterine cancer.
Oh.
Yeah. In October, I was having some issues like over the summer into the fall. And I went to the doctor. Of course, it took forever to get to the doctor because of everything going on. And then lo and behold, like I was being scheduled for this like radical hysterectomy within 2 weeks.
Oh
and
my God.
So, yeah. And so I thought, I'm a sharer to begin with. Like that's really how my recovery works. It's how, I write books about every horrible thing that's ever happened to me. So I took it was actually the JSS page, the LGBTQ page. And I also do the Pelofondo now because I'm a crazy Peloton person now. I don't just do one ride now. I sometimes do 40. Yeah. So I do. So I was on like the tour and the Pelofondo ride and I posted about it. And the outpouring of like love and support, it just carried me through that surgery. It carried me through that experience. And, I had all this anxiety about being off the bike. I really did. I thought, oh my God, like, am I gonna not get back to where I was? Am I gonna not be able to get to that place? And so I was riding every day. And then I had this like core crew of friends here just started in Pennsylvania. Now we've got a girl from Chicago that joins us where like every morning we get on the bike at 6:30 and we ride. But then on Saturdays we ride like maniacs. We ride 2-3 hours.
Wow.
We'll do like that. I know I'm so excited about the stack feature. We'll talk about that in a minute. But so like, we'll just come up with these rides and we'll do like, 2-3 hours on the bike and we're texting the whole time, motivating each other. And so I was so scared that I was going to lose like all that. And I think I was back on the bike in 3 weeks of my surgery.
Was that?
I was like, did the doctor say that?
That face you made says that is not what they told you to do.
No, not yet. But I just kind of got on and rolled my legs through, and I have taken it easy. But I'm back up to every day. Yeah. No, I had my surgery on October 22nd, and then I was re-hospitalized with sepsis, so I had another setback, which was bad. But like, I got cards from people from Peloton that I only know because of this community. Like it was just, I had so many hands on my back supporting me. It was awesome. And so like for my final ride before my surgery, there were like all these people. And then my comeback ride, it's just, I don't know. There's love in this place and there's community and there's support that if you find it, if you seek it and you engage it, is really kind of life-changing.
I absolutely agree. You really feel like when they say we ride together, it's true. It's true. Together we ride
Together we ride and more than a bike. It is so much more than a bike. It is so much more than a bike. Like I have processed so much. It was funny. Someone just posted in one of the groups, is it normal to cry on the bike? And I was like, oh, let's talk about this. Like, yeah. Because it's not just about physicality. It's about processing emotions and being like, I remember when I lost my dad 4 years ago, and I got on, I think it was a Jess King ride. And I just was sobbing. And probably for like my first 7-8 rides after he died, that's how, and it was amazing because it's, the bike is an outlet. It is. It helps you process through so much.
It's weird. When I say weird, I mean, it's strange because it like sneaks up on you, that emotion. Because like you're just riding and then all of a sudden the next thing you know, you're sobbing and you don't even know where it came from. I mean, it's just, I don't know how to explain it, but I understand what you're saying. You're not alone.
Listen, I call my bike the synthesizer. And I'm a big believer because I do a lot of trauma work. I do a lot of healing and hope stuff. And I think that, in terms of behavioral change, and especially people that maybe struggle with like rage or anger issues, the bike is like this amazing synthesizer. And I remember around the time when George Floyd was murdered, and there was so much just like, you could feel it in the air, the anger and the rage. And that's when I started to really identify like, okay, my bike for me is it's a synthesizer. I can get on it ready to kill somebody or with like so much spewing rage. And then the bike actually helps me synthesize that into productivity. And then I can get off of it and I can breathe a little bit deeper. And then hopefully whatever I was upset about or mad about, I have a different outlook about it too. And so as a writer, it's huge for me. Sometimes I'm literally on the bike, like writing in my notes section. I do a ton of my writing on the Peloton.
I've heard people say before that they're most creative when they work out. And I can't identify with that because like my brain is like, I'm so into what I'm doing that I can't do that, but I'm not a creative person in general. So like, I think that's totally cool. I'm always fascinated when people tell me that. It's like, wow, I wish my brain would like kick in and come up with ideas when I was writing. I'm all about efficiency.
Super helpful. It's not great for your PRs, but it's super helpful.
Yeah. That's okay. You don't need every day to be a PR.
But it's great for your career.
Exactly.
It is very scary. I have not PR'd since I got back on the bike. So I'm just giving that up. Like my numbers are just nowhere near where they were. But I was in such a beast mode prior to the surgery that it's going to take me a while to get back there. So
it will, but you'll get there when you least expect it. You'll just look up one day and be like, "Oh, when did that happen? How did I get there?"
Instead of now, I'm like, God, that bitch was fast. What was she doing? Like, how did I get that fast? Like, yeah, it's all good though.
So I have a question back to your writing. I'm interested in how does it work with a memoir in terms of like, how do you get a publisher to know that someone who isn't already an established celebrity, like obviously if Ellen DeGeneres wants to write a memoir, people are going to beat down her door. But if you're just like regular Joe or Jane Q public and you're like, I've got an interesting story, how did you crack that nut to get their attention?
It was hard. And so, because I was just like Jen Storm living in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I mean, 4 people may have heard of me. And so I think what I did was I started querying agents. That was a mess because you just get so much rejection. Like I must have had like 60 rejection letters on my wall.
Did you already have like a treatment or a book written, or were you just like, hey, I got an idea?
I probably had about 200 pages written, but I didn't even have like chapters identified. Like I just had like my brain dump in a Word document, right? Is essentially what it was. And so at one point I did think, well, maybe I should hire an editor to kind of get it to a manuscript submission place. And so I did that. Quite frankly, I would never advise anyone to spend money on an editor unless it's just really tightening up and grammatical, because the person didn't know me, they didn't know my voice, and it ended up kind of being a waste of money for me. I learned a lot of what I did via Google. Like you just Google, like, how do you have a manuscript submission? And there's a format that you need, right? You have to have like a little bit of a marketing analysis, which is not as hard as it sounds. You need to have your bio, couple sample chapters. So you don't have to have the book complete, especially if it's nonfiction. It does not have to be complete. If it's fiction, it has to be complete. Sure. So what I started to do was look to the books that I was reading. Like, who do I read? Who do I love? And at that point, it was like Melody Beatty. I was really into like some self-help recovery stuff. And I noticed Hazelden Publishing. A lot of entities require an agent to bring an author to a publishing house. Hazelden is one of those few that takes what they call unsolicited manuscripts. And so I thought, okay, this is an opportunity. So I went on their website. I looked at how they wanted me to submit it. And I submitted to them and they came back, and they don't really do a lot of memoirs. Like I think I'm only one of a very small handful of memoirs. So I feel very blessed that they saw something in my story. And it was right around that time where, again, memoirs were exploding, but addiction and recovery memoirs were really, like Smashed had just come out. Prozac Nation had just come out and done really well. So I think they saw, oh, here's a young girl with a horrible story, because quite frankly, my story, it is horrific and it's a miracle I'm alive. And they thought it would maybe put forth some hope. So I think I got really lucky. And I was really blessed. Yeah.
I also was curious when you were talking about like all the different things you've written about. And you were talking about like how addiction and recovery is different, or is it different? I guess is my question for if you are gay or bi or anything, like did you experience, like, did it feel like it was different from other people? And I was curious, like, if you could expand on that.
Yeah. And there's a couple things to unpack there. Like, so the use, really so much of my addiction was propelled by this like huge secret that I had. I knew I was gay in kindergarten.
Okay.
I tell you the first crush, the girl I had the first crush on. And there were these points in my life, one being kindergarten, one being fourth grade, and then one being like sixth grade, where I tried to like naturally express what I thought was like, oh, I like girls. Like I didn't know that this was something you shouldn't like until I got messages from my parents and then from other parents. And I remember a teacher pulling me aside and just shaming the heck out of me. And so it obviously quickly made me realize like, okay, this is not something that I should be engaging. And so it was just one of those other reasons I always wanted to run out of my skin and I didn't feel comfortable. And so drugs and alcohol made me feel comfortable and helped me fit in, if you will. And then when I got sober and at such a young age, at 22, unfortunately, historically, and this has changed, the only place you could really meet other gay people were in gay bars, right? There would be like every town would have like that one bar or two, right? There might be the gay bar and the lesbian bar, but that was traditionally where we went for community and to meet one another. And so being a sober person, it was hard because those spaces weren't necessarily 100% safe for me.
Sure.
So now, fortunately, I was at college. So I engaged and kind of got introduced to a whole queer community in college because most universities have groups. So I was able to kind of meet some people and get community that way. But, I probably walked into far too many bars that I really should have than was necessarily safe. But at the same time, it was safe for me in another way. So it was always kind of struggling with those two things. And unfortunately, drinking is a big thing in our community. And I think mainly because those safe spaces for us were bars, right? That's where we had to hide in the darkness of a bar room. That's changed a lot. In fact, I think it's unfortunately changed too much to the extent that we don't really have a lot of lesbian and gay bars anymore because it's become almost so mainstream that, it's funny. I was on one of, I think it was the LGBTQ Peloton page where we were talking about like, where are the lesbian bars? There just aren't any places to go anymore because it's become so mainstream. So, but yeah, it was a struggle in both ways.
And I've heard Dan Savage talk about how things like Grindr have really killed the gay bar because you don't.
Yeah, you can just everything's at the palm of your hand.
Right, like you don't need to go out to meet people, and so there's just not as much of a need for it. Combined with what you said, which is it's more mainstream, so it doesn't have to be sequestered in the way that it did previously.
Yep. Yeah,
I find that fascinating.
I've done very little dating in the digital age. So I like those apps. So I'm married. I've been, my wife and I have been together. It's going to be 11 years in February. And so there was no Tinder. There was no, none of those apps existed even prior. Like I remember I did a little AOL instant messaging, like chat room stuff. And then like Match.com was like a big thing. And then I've been in a committed relationship ever since. So I have no appreciation of the swipe culture at all.
Yeah, we got out of it right before the swiping thing became a deal. Like
Plenty of Fish was still big when we got together. So we haven't done the swiping either. Yeah. So I feel like we're always like, is it left or right? Yeah. I don't even know.
I don't know which way you should swipe, but no on that one. Yes on that one.
Well, and now it's become so ingrained in the culture. I do know whether it's left or right. I just don't feel like I can admit it to her or she'll think that I found out.
Right if you like him and left if you don't.
She's asking you, is that it?
I think it's a swipe right if you like them. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
That's what I thought. Like that makes sense. It's like a forward motion. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I'm very scarecrowy about that.
So do I remember correctly that you said that you have another book coming out soon? Is that
so? I have Blackout Girl came out in September, and then I wrote a follow-up called Awakening Blackout Girl. That did come out in October, and so that's more of it's a memoir, but it's also much more self-help, and it really kind of carries survivors through. It's very specific to if you are a person who used substances as a means to cope with being sexually traumatized, because there really aren't a lot of targeted resources like that out there. And so I'm really proud of that book. I processed and healed a lot through writing that book personally, like places even in myself and in my own relationship that I didn't even think I could go further on the healing path. And I was able to do that in writing it. So I'm really excited for that book. And then the audio version of Blackout Girl releases on February 9th.
Yay,
Awesome.
that's exciting.
I got to narrate it.
So you read it yourself?
I did. And so here's this is a lesson in tenacity and balls, because I have both. So they, of course, when they sold the audiobook, they were like, well, we can't use her. She's not a celebrity voice. No one's going to want to hear her voice. And I'm like, it's my story. Like, what do you mean? And so I fought it with my publisher, and they kept coming back and said, listen, we have no negotiating. Like, sorry, you're not Ellen DeGeneres. And so, but they did say though, that you can help select the voice. So I was like, all right, fine. So they sent me 3 auditions, and they were awful. They all sounded like Alexa or Siri on your phone. Like, it was just very dude. Robotic. So I listened to them and I got pissed. And so I recorded my own, and I sent that back to the audio company, not the publisher. And lo and behold, I got an email from my publisher that was like a little curt. That was kind of like, well, we appreciate what you've done. we, that was not really the process, but we wanted to let you know they really liked your audition, and now you're hired.
So wait, so they sent you voice people to read your book because you're not a big enough name, but they weren't names that were going to read the book anyway.
No, they were average people who have voiceover careers and who have done this. But I'm like, well, it's my life.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
It's a lesson for people to never take no for an answer in circumstances where it's about advocating for yourself, because you never know, when you're going to be able to get to that. Yes.
Absolutely. It's funny. It reminds me, because I'm a pop culture nerd.
Of course.
This is very similar to a story about a rock band. There was a rock band that they had produced their album entirely in their basement. And it was with this one mastermind guy that did it all. And the label's like, we really like this record, but you got to have a real producer do it. And so they flew the band out to LA, and they gave him this big name producer. I think it was Ted Templeton, maybe. And so Ted Templeton comes in and he goes, here's the deal. He's like, nobody's ever going to make a record that sounds as good as this. I'm not going to touch a track. We're going to sit here for 2 weeks, and then we're going to tell the label that we re-recorded it, and we'll just send it back to them because this album is brilliant and I don't want to touch it. And that album was the debut release from Boston.
Boston.
Yeah. So there you go.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So you're kind of like the memoir equivalent of Ted Scholes from Boston.
I wasn't willing to take no for an answer on that one.
Yeah, nor should you.
And it felt so listen, I don't even like my own voice. I don't like to listen to my own voice. But I thought, if someone's going to hear my story, shouldn't it be in my voice? With all my reflections and understanding and appreciation for the text. So
yeah, no, I concur. That's weird. If I was selecting an audiobook and I saw the memoir wasn't read by the author, I'd be like, well, this is going to sound like bad community theater.
Exactly. And that's how it read to me. All 3 of them, I'm like, there was no, and especially a memoir, it's different if it's fiction, right? But a memoir, it's your whole personal experience. And so there are moments in the book when I knew to laugh, or you know what I mean? Where I was able to bring my own emotion to it that somebody reading it would not have, they would just have no knowledge. They would have no.
Well, and also if you're telling, given what you said, I'm sure the memoir goes to some dark places. If you choose to laugh at a moment in it, it's you as the person who experienced finding the humor in it. Where if it's just some random person reading it, now it's like, are they finding the humor in it, or are they laughing at you? It
changes that dynamic.
Absolutely,
a lot.
It does.
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad you advocated for yourself.
Me
I
too.
think that makes sense. Good job. Also, you need to talk to our teenagers about that, especially the 16-year-old.
Yes. I think the girl's doing just fine.
Oh, yeah.
But
that's true. I was just trying to be inclusive.
Yeah. It's the boy who needs to advocate for himself.
It's true. What's that?
How old's your boy?
He's 16. So 16. Yeah. So he
and my daughter's 14, and she's the exact polar opposite. I
Yeah.
mean, they're not blood related, so it makes sense that they don't have anything really in common, but it's just funny how two very, very different experiences as teenagers.
If she's not happy with something, she'll let you know. Whereas my son, as my mother used to describe, and she described him this way when he was 5, she used to say, that boy wouldn't say shit if he had a mouthful of it.
Yeah.
So segueing back to the bike, what is your leaderboard name?
Blackout Girl.
Okay, makes sense.
It totally makes sense.
I always did that. It was just, I was like, well, this is what I use it for a lot. So that is my leaderboard name. And I'm on every day. It's funny now, I rarely ride live unless it's Jen Sherman. Like literally, I'm usually on the bike every morning, 6:30 in the morning with my little crew. We pick a ride. Every Monday we do Jess King experience. I don't know what the heck we're going to do after this week. Cause I miss being in the studio. Like I miss so much.
I didn't get to go to the studio that often. It was like once a year, but even being at home, I miss people being in the studio. Not that the instructors are not doing a fantastic job, but it's just a different vibe. And I miss that vibe. I miss it a lot.
Experience. My first in-studio ride was with Robin and John Michael. And it was, Friday night. And I strategically made sure my bike was not placed in front of Robin for obvious reasons, because I'm far too competitive. So if like somebody challenges me, like I'm going to go there, even if I can't athletically go there, and then I'm going to injure myself because I'm that stubborn. Yes. So I made sure I was off to the side, but I didn't realize that I was right in front of John Michael's DJ booth. Remember when it used to be like right next to the instructor? But I'll never forget that. I forget what song was playing, but there was something came. I think it might have been Whitney Houston, and I must have been like in a zone because I was like singing and dancing, and all of a sudden John Michael just like snapped me with his towel, and I felt anointed. Like I was, yes. John Michael has snapped me with his towel. I have arrived. Like it was like one of those seminal moments for me in the studio. Yeah.
Also, he is like one of the nicest people on the planet.
Isn't he?
Yes.
Sweetest. He is the sweetest man. We've connected on an Instagram after that and talked a couple times, and he DJ'd in Philly a couple times. So he's just a doll. He really is. And they just have so much fun together. I love the DJ rides.
Me too. Yeah. Have you done any of the DJ runs? Have you done any of those?
I haven't. I want a treadmill so badly. And I was listening to your podcast from last week. And so they're all sitting in warehouses somewhere. So is there one I can go and just grab one?
No.
Like
they won't let them out. They won't let them out. They won't let them go.
The smaller one. That's the one I want.
Yeah. March 30th. Well, no, I think it is March 30th, even for Philadelphia. I was thinking that might be one of the cities that starts on February 9th, but I think it's not. I think it's March 30th for you guys too. So
I tested one out in Chicago in like the bigger ones. And I mean, it is like running on a cloud. It really is. And so I thought like, maybe I could actually run again if I got this. So I'm working on the wife. I'm going to get it.
Totally understand. Yeah. Even just walking and listening to the DJ run could be a lot of fun for you. I'm just throwing it out there.
Like a nightclub. It's like being in a nightclub, but not. Which is lovely.
Yes, on both counts.
Yes.
So, do you have any advice for people just joining the Peloton community?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm a big advocate, and I promote Peloton all over the place. I have 8 bikes to my name. There are people that have bought bikes through me. But I tell people to get connected. Like, I think that's the difference in it becoming, a piece of equipment that doesn't motivate you is really, it's the community. So find a community. There's so many different Peloton communities now, so many subgroups. Oh, I belong to the mom group too. I'm on that mom group all the time. I love them.
NPR.
So bougie. Sometimes it's so bougie. Like, and you're like, really? Like, anyway, but yeah. Lots of NPRs that I'm like,
and where are you going on spring break?
Right? Oh, that vacation one that came up recently. Oh my God, that poor woman got so attacked.
I know.
It was brutal.
It was.
But and also, like all the nurses, I was like, yes.
And the reason I'm laughing, just for the record, because I'm sure I'm going to get shit for it, is because like people do that about every 2 days, and you're just like, come on, like if you're here, that's going to happen. Why did you even put it out there?
Like really, a picture of all of you on the beach, no masks, having a blast, while all of us are like in our house eating Cheetos. Like, stop.
Right.
Stop. Yeah. But I do like that group, and I've gotten some good. Yeah, it's fun. I love the NPRs and the no MLMs. Like people get radical about that too. Like, God forbid you promote anything. It's so funny. Yeah. But I think, what I tell, like, I just had a friend text me the other day and she's like, all right, you motivated me. I got my bike. It's coming next week. And I get a lot of that because I intentionally put a story up on my Instagram every time I'm on the bike.
Awesome.
Because it's consistency, and that's how you build patterns, and that's how you change behavior, and it's how you change everything. Right. And so for me to be accountable, I do that. And there are always these nasty, like sweaty, hot ass mess pictures, but whatever. And so it's just, I think it's about getting connected and then finding people, like finding your own little crew inside those connections. Like if it weren't for the crew that I ride with every morning, like I don't think I'd get on the bike every day. Like my alarm goes off Monday through Friday, 5:45, I'm on the bike. And it's because of them. And we're all texting each other in the morning, like, morning crew, are you ready? We set our ride the night before, so we know what we're going to ride. Like, it's become a pattern that I love. And it's these individuals. I have never met any of these people in person.
I love that.
I love them. They're like my family. Like, I love them dearly. Like the one of them got married. I sent her a wedding gift. Like when I was having my surgery, she sent me brownies. Like, and we support each other. And it's amazing how virtually and through that, like you can change each other's lives and impact each other's lives. And so that's where it is more than a bike. It's like, oh great, I got a workout, but it's not even about that anymore.
Couldn't have said it better. That's awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time to join us today. Before we go, remind everybody where they can find you. I can tell that you don't mind being found. So.
No, I'm super social media oriented. So I'm on Instagram a lot, and it's actually Storm119 because someone had Blackout Girl, and don't go to that page because it'll probably trigger all kinds of things on your phone. Unfortunately, the title of my book necessarily can sometimes get you down a rabbit hole on the internet that you don't want to go to.
Good to know.
Storm119, which is my last name, and then my sobriety date is November 9th. So I use Storm119 a lot. And I'm on Instagram all the time. My Facebook page is just Jennifer Storm Author. I'm all over there. I have a personal and a public one. I post on both, but and my website's just my name, jenniferstorm.com.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much.
This is so exciting. Thank you.
So I guess that brings this episode to a close. What, pray tell, can we expect next week?
Episode 200.
Oh yeah, episode 200.
So much. There's going to be so many surprises. There's going to be like mini past guest updates and like as in several.
Yes.
And a short duration. And so you're going to be able to hear from past guests that you have often asked about. You're going to hear from some people telling us what they think about our 200th anniversary. And of course, we'll still cover the news and all that good stuff. So.
Absolutely. Like the 200 jam-packed portion is kind of in place of the interview. So you'll still get the weekly news, and then we'll follow it up instead of the interview with lots of like little mini interviews and well wishes from other people and stuff. It'll be a good time.
Yeah.
So until next week, where can people find you?
People can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Crystal D. O'Keefe. They can find me on Instagram and Twitter and the bike and of course the tread at Clip Out Crystal.
And you can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online, facebook.com/The Clip Out. While you're there, like the page, join the group. Don't forget our YouTube channel. It's going to come in really handy next week, youtube.com/The Clip Out. And of course, wherever you're getting your podcast from, be sure and subscribe so you never miss an episode. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, keep pedaling
and running.
Clip in, set yourself free.